The studio buzzed like a beehive before air. Makeup brushes clicked, cameras panned, audience laughter pulsed. The lights were hot enough to melt the air. No one knew they were seconds away from a storm. Then Jason Momoa walked in. He moved like the room already belonged to him. Calm, magnetic, the grin of a man who didn't need to try. The crowd roared. The host smiled, polished and practiced. Whoopi at center, composed and unshakable. Joy Behar leaning forward, eyes sharp with humor. Sunny Hostin poised. Sarah Haynes glowing. Whoopi's voice filled the studio. Before we begin, tell us where are you watching from, also subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, Aquaman himself, Jason Momoa. The applause hit like a wave. Jason laughed, warm and easy. Good to see you all, he said. For a moment, the show sparkled. Banter, smiles, the rhythm of good TV, then something shifted. Whoopi leaned in, her tone cooling. Jason, you talk about saving the planet, but some people say your private jets and mansions don't really scream sustainability. The laughter died. Even the cameras seemed to listen. Jason's smile faltered. Just a hair. That's fair, he said, voice slower now. I'm not perfect. I'm learning. I'm trying to do better. Whoopi didn't blink. So can people take your activism seriously, or is that Hollywood hypocrisy? The word landed like glass breaking. Joy tried to laugh it off. Come on, Whoopi, don't scare him already. But no one laughed. Jason's jaw tightened. You calling me a hypocrite? I'm saying people notice, Whoopi said, steady as a held stare. The tension thickened until it hummed. Jason leaned back, hands clasped. I grew up with nothing, he said. Now I've got something, and I use it to help people. That's not hypocrisy, that's growth. Joy fidgeted. Okay, let's move on. But Whoopi wasn't finished. You can't post next to a recycling bin and call it activism. Something in him snapped. The warmth drained from his voice. You want to talk hypocrisy? He said quietly. How about a show that claims to empower voices, but shuts down anyone who doesn't fit the script? Gasps, silence. The audience froze between shock and awe. Whoopi's eyes narrowed. This is The View, Jason. We challenge people. There's a difference, he said, between a challenge and a cheap shot. Cut to break, someone whispered off stage, but the red camera light stayed on. Jason's voice grew sharper. You say you want honesty, but you only want agreement. The second someone pushes back, you perform. Whoopi's reply came cold and even. If you can't handle opinions, oh, I can handle opinions, he cut in. What I can't handle is disrespect. The crowd erupted, half cheering, half gasping. The sound filled every inch of the studio. Whoopi sat still, her jaw tight as stone. Looks like you've made your point, she said. Jason nodded once. Yeah, I think I have. The segment ended, but the air still burned. Backstage, chaos. Producers barking, crew rushing, Joy muttering about fast and furious energy. Whoopi sat frozen, her fingers clenched around her mug. Sunny broke the silence. You went personal, Whoopi. He wanted real talk, she said flatly. He got it. 30 seconds to live again. They reset, smile masks back on. Whoopi's voice returned, polished as ever. Welcome back to The View. Before the break, things got passionate. The audience laughed uneasily. Across the hall, Jason walked out, pulse still hammering. His publicist called after him, heels clicking. Jason, they'll cut it. We can fix this. He stopped, turned, voice low. They won't. It's already out there. He was right. Within hours, the clip spread like wildfire. Jason staring into the camera. They see who's trying to talk and who's trying to talk over them. By nightfall, Whoopi sat alone in her dressing room, face reflected in a cold mirror. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Headlines, comments, one text that stopped her cold. That wasn't you. She stared at it for a long time. For the first time in years, she wasn't sure if she'd been right or just proud. Across town, Jason sat by a hotel window, city lights flickering below. A fan-made video played on his screen, him on the show, cross-cut with footage of him cleaning beaches and hugging kids at refugee camps. The caption read, "Standing up for what matters." He watched silently, a faint smile returning. They get it, his publicist said. Yeah, he murmured. They do. The next morning, the view opened to an expectant hush. Whoopi looked straight at the camera. Yesterday, we had a passionate conversation with Jason Momoa. Sometimes passion sounds like hostility. That's not fair to anyone. Jason, if you're watching, I hear you. The audience clapped softly. Hours later, Jason posted a single photo of the ocean. Black and white, endless. Caption, fire cleanses, respect rebuilds. No hard feelings, only lessons. By the week's end, the uproar had cooled into conversation. Analysts called it authenticity versus professionalism. Podcasts debated who crossed the line. But one clip kept replaying, the handshake. Jason and Whoopi, eyes locked, tension still alive, but respect reborn. No smiles, no victory, just truth. And when the view closed that Friday, Whoopi looked into the camera again. Next week, she said, Jason Momoa will return, and this time we'll finish the conversation about the planet and about how we talk to each other. The crowd gasped, then cheered. Jason watched the promo from his trailer in Los Angeles. His publicist hovered. You sure about this? He smiled. You don't fix silence by walking away from it. Back in New York, Whoopi whispered to her reflection, let's finish it right this time. The story that began with confrontation had become something else. Not about fame or ego, but about how we speak and how we listen. No one really won, no one really lost, but for once, everyone heard. A week later, the world is still watching. The internet hasn't cooled, it's evolved. Think pieces, debates, memes, documentaries in progress, everyone waiting for the same moment, the reunion. The morning of the taping, the view feels like a pressure cooker. Producers whisper through headsets, every camera polished, every seat filled. The audience buzzes, half expecting peace, half craving another explosion. Whoopi sits center stage again, the veteran calm etched into her features. But her eyes, those give her away. They flick to the entrance more than once. She's not nervous, not exactly, just ready. The theme music hits, applause, and then he walks in. Jason Momoa, the storm reborn. Simpler clothes this time. No smile, but no armor either. He looks like a man ready to talk, not perform. The crowd erupts anyway. Cheers, whistles, flashes from phones. He waves once and sits across from Whoopi. The noise fades. The silence grows. Jason, Whoopi begins, her voice measured. Thanks for coming back. He nods. Thanks for having me. Again. The audience laughs lightly, easing the tension, but both of them stay still. Two professionals who've already gone to war. Whoopi takes a breath. Last week was intense. I asked questions that crossed a line. Jason studies her, unreadable. You did what you do. I did what I do. Maybe the truth got caught in the middle. She tilts her head. Maybe that's where truth always lives. The audience murmurs. This time, no one blinks. Jason leans forward. I didn't come here to win. I came because people out there, real people, think every conversation has to end in sides. It doesn't. We can argue and still respect each other. Whoopi nods slowly. I agree. The world's gotten louder, not smarter. Joy breaks in softly, her tone a bridge. So maybe this is what we needed. A little fire to remind everyone we're still human under the headlines. Laughter ripples. The tension loosens. Jason looks out at the audience, his voice softer. I care about this planet, about people. Sometimes the message gets buried under the noise, but if that moment made even one person listen, then maybe it was worth it. Whoopi smiles. Small, real. You handled that better than most, even me. He grins faintly. You gave me no choice. The crowd laughs. The atmosphere shifts from battle to conversation. Two voices meeting in the middle of their own wreckage. When the show cuts to break, the applause is thunderous. Not because of the tension, but because something rare just happened. Growth. Later that night, news anchors call it the redemption episode. Fans call it closure. But to Jason and Whoopi, it's something quieter. Backstage, she finds him alone, sipping. Water, shoulders finally relaxed. You handled that beautifully, she says. He looks at her, tired but at peace. We both did. They stand in the quiet hum of the studio, the same walls that once vibrated with confrontation now humming with calm. Whoopi extends her hand again. No cameras this time. He shakes it, steady, sincere. No scripts either. She smiles. Let's keep it that way. As Jason walks out into the fading New York light, the sound of distant traffic blends with the echo of applause. His phone buzzes, notifications, headlines, praise, but he ignores them. The city feels alive, forgiving. He looks up at the gray sky and exhales. Fire cleanses, he murmurs, and this time it built something new. The night after the reunion, New York glows like an ember, not burning, but breathing. In a hotel room overlooking the city, Jason stands by the window. The glass reflects the skyline and a quieter version of himself. The interviews, the outrage, the applause, all of it feels like static fading down the hallway of memory. He picks up his phone, scrolling past the headlines from clash to conversation. When conflict became connection, authenticity wins the week. He smiles faintly, then sets the phone face down again. For the first time in days, the silence doesn't feel heavy, it feels earned. Across town, in her apartment filled with the soft scent of tea and old books, Whoopi watches the same skyline. The television hums quietly. Reruns of The View muted in the background. She leans back in her chair, eyes soft but alert, thinking about the moment her voice turned sharp and the way his eyes didn't back down. Pride is a strange thing, she thinks. It builds walls, but sometimes those walls make echoes. Echoes you can't ignore until they bounce back and hit you in the heart. She sips her tea. "You did good, kid," she murmurs to no one, maybe to herself, maybe to him. The View's studio glows brighter than usual. The air feels cleaner, calmer. The hosts sit lighter, laughter genuine again. Today, Whoopi says, we're talking about how to disagree without destroying. Jason's clip rolls on the monitor. That moment when he turned to the camera. They see who's trying to talk and who's trying to talk over them. The audience listens, not cheering this time, just absorbing. Sonny speaks first. Maybe we all learned something that day about patience, about tone. Joy chuckles, about not poking Aquaman before coffee. Laughter fills the room. It's real this time. Healing always sounds softer. Whoopi glances toward the camera. We talk a lot about speaking truth to power, she says. But sometimes power isn't outside us. It's in the way we listen. The crowd applauds, but it's the quiet kind. Respectful, reflective. Everyone wants to be right, but maybe the real strength isn't in winning the argument. Maybe it's in staying. When things get uncomfortable, listening doesn't mean surrender. It means respect. His voice drifts over the ocean, waves rising against the shore, the same beach he once stood on, cleaning plastic with bare hands. He bends, picks up a bottle, tosses it into a bin, and smiles. Fire cleanses, he says softly, looking toward the horizon. Respect rebuilds. Everyone wants to be right, but maybe the real strength isn't in winning the argument. Maybe it's in staying when things get uncomfortable. Listening doesn't mean surrender. It means respect. His voice drifts over the ocean, waves rising against the shore, the same beach he once stood on, cleaning plastic with bare hands. He bends, picks up a bottle, tosses it into a bin, and smiles. Fire cleanses, he says softly, looking toward the horizon. Respect rebuilds. The headlines fade, the hashtags slow, but the conversation doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. Clips from that day still circulate, now used in college classrooms and talk panels about integrity, ego, and public discourse. News anchors replay the handshake as shorthand for respect under pressure. The internet, so often divided, found something rare in it: the beauty of not backing down and not walking away. Jason's days return to movement, set trailers, charity visits, surfboards, interviews that all want that story. He always gives the same answer now. It wasn't about winning, it was about being heard. Sometimes he smiles when people mention Whoopi, sometimes he pauses. Not from resentment, but reflection. She's alone again, the makeup mirror bright and unflinching. A small framed photo sits beside her tea. It's from the reunion show, her and Jason shaking hands. Someone from the crew printed it and left it there as a joke. She never took it down. Her assistant knocks. "You ready to go, Ms. Goldberg?" "Yeah," she says, standing, adjusting her scarf. Then she adds, quieter, "I think I am." Jason walks barefoot on wet sand, the Pacific wind tugging at his hair. No cameras this time, no PR team, just him, the sea, and the same horizon that used to feel unreachable. A group of kids from a local cleanup crew recognize him, hesitant at first. "Hey," one calls, "you really meant it," about helping. Jason smiles. Always do. They laugh, join him, their buckets clinking. He looks out at the gray water and thinks of that stage. The lights, the tension, the silence that swallowed the world before it turned to applause. He still feels it sometimes. Not the anger, but the clarity that came after. It's quieter now. The walls carry less tension, more history. On the back wall, framed alongside photos of guests from decades past, hangs one more. Jason and Whoopi's handshake. A moment frozen in light. During a break, Joy Behar points to it and laughs. Best ratings we ever had. Whoopi smirks, and the best reminder to think. Before I swing, Sonny adds softly, or maybe to swing when it matters. They all laugh, warm and easy. We live in a world where everyone wants the last word, but sometimes the last word isn't a word at all. It's silence, it's a handshake, it's knowing you were understood. The months after the storm pass like a long exhale. The noise fades but never really vanishes. It just hums somewhere beneath the surface of everything. People still mention it in passing, at airports, in green rooms, on talk shows. They say things like, that moment was real, or that's how television used to feel. Jason always smiles, polite, but inside he feels something quieter, relief that the moment is finally behind him, and gratitude that it happened at all. Sometimes, late at night, he still replays that look in Whoopi's eyes, the one that wasn't anger but recognition, the same look he gave her when he realized she wasn't an opponent, just another person trying to hold on to truth in front of a million watching faces. He remembers the tension, the silence, the hum of the studio that felt like a second heartbeat. It doesn't sting anymore. It just lives there, like a scar that stopped hurting but never disappeared. He travels again, shoots a film, speaks at a summit about environmental responsibility, this time when he talks about balance, about imperfection. People listen differently, not because he's Aquaman or an activist or a celebrity, but because they saw him falter and rise without pretending it didn't happen. The honesty stuck. Whoopi keeps working too. Every morning she takes her seat at the table, that same mug of tea beside her hand. She still asks hard questions, still knows when to press and when to let silence do the talking. Every so often, a producer will mention Jason's name in passing, and she'll just smile and say, "Good man, stubborn as hell." The audience laughs. The world moves on, but something between them remains. Mutual respect carved out of fire. One evening, long after filming, a letter arrives at the ABC offices addressed simply, "For Whoopi." Inside, a postcard, a photograph of the ocean, black and white, endless. On the back, one line in Jason's handwriting. "Thanks for making me listen." She turns it over, looks at the water, and sets it beside her mirror. It stays there, untouched, like a quiet apology that doesn't need words. Outside, the city moves like it always has. Horns, sirens, laughter, arguments, all the noise that makes the world real. Somewhere across the country, Jason stands barefoot on a dock, staring at a horizon painted in gold and ash. He breathes deep, the air salty and alive. The fight, the noise, the endless comment sections, all of it feels far away. He thinks about what Whoopi said that morning. Maybe passion can sound like hostility. Maybe truth sometimes needs to burn before it can be understood. He laughs softly to himself. The water laps at the wood. Beneath his feet, a gull cries somewhere above, a sound sharp and clean. No one's filming, no audience claps. It's just him, the ocean, and the kind of peace that doesn't perform. He closes his eyes, and for a moment, he can still hear it. The applause, the silence that followed, the breath the world took before it learned how to listen. Somewhere in New York, Whoopi switches off the studio lights and locks the door. The hallway outside smells faintly of makeup and dust. She pauses, looks back at the empty stage, and smiles. "That's how you end a conversation," she murmurs. "The world will forget the details, the quotes, the hashtags, but not the feeling, not that rare second on live television when two people stopped pretending and told the truth. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't pretty, it was real. If you like this video, then subscribe."